Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nidus Anarchy series. I'm your host Adam, CIO and co-founder of Nidus, and today we're going to walk through how to create a complete AI web application using Bolt.new and Windsurf to track all the UFO sightings that have been going on around. As you've probably seen, there's been crazy UFO sightings and this is all over the news and it's all kind of crazy. So I figured that'd be kind of a fun theme to demo how to build a complete application just using AI. We're not going to do any code. You don't have to know anything about code to do this. The whole reason I wanted to do this really was because I've had so many friends of mine that are hardcore developers. And when I talk to them, I'm like, hey, are you using AI for your development? And they're like, no, it's not really good enough. I do maybe use it for some questions here and there, but I'm not really, it's not there yet. They are so wrong. And I'm like, oh my God, you're missing out so much. You're spending so much time and wasting so much time when you don't have to be. It's crazy. Where we are now with AI development is leaps and bounds where we were a year ago. Like before it was like you'd put in something into ChatGPT and it'd spit out some code and you'd copy it and put it into your IDE and mess around. We're past that, way past that. If you're still coding in an IDE and you're not using AI for your development, you might as well be using punch cards to do development at this point because you're that far behind. So to get everyone up forward and to help everyone else out there and really show what's possible, we're going to make a demo app and I'm going to walk through and show you exactly how I do this stuff, kind of like what my workflow is. We're going to do a little bit shorter, but you'll see all the steps and you can elaborate on there when you have the free time. But I'm going to show you how I make apps and how I do kind of build up my proof of concept or an MVP of an app and kind of go from there. So the main apps, like I was saying, I'm going to use are Bolt.new, which is phenomenal at getting your idea into a rudimentary app. And then from there, we're going to take it and jump into Windsurf, which is an AI that which is an IDE that uses AI. It's actually, for me, it's the other way around. It's AI that has an IDE is really how I view this stuff. There's also Cursor. If you're familiar with Cursor, that's another more popular one that's out there too. The Cursor and Windsurf are very similar. For me, I just prefer Windsurf. We'll kind of go into it as we go through it, but I just like how it works with the AI and what I'm able to do with it. So it's just my personal preference, but feel free to use whichever one you want. They kind of work the same way. So like I said, the app we're going to do is we're going to figure out a way to track all these UFO sightings that are going on. So first, let's start out with what we do. The first thing you need to do is you need to create a prompt of what your app is. So the easiest way, the simplest way is just write like a bullet list of what your app is going to do. What are all the features? How should it look? Use ASCII art if you have to, whatever you want to do, but put it into like kind of a logical order. And then from there, we're going to build out individual prompts to generate larger, more like full in-depth prompts to throw into Bolt. Then Bolt will use those to programmatically build the pieces of the app. Once Bolt has created the app to a point we like, we're then going to export that and dump that into Windsurf, where then we're going to really tweak and fine tune the app. So to save some time, I've already created the prompt that we're going to run with for the UFO app. So here it is. So we need to make an app that will track all the recent UFO sightings in my area and plot them on a map. And then from here, I just kind of bullet list them out. The page should use my current location and then show a map that's 100-mile radius outward. The map should let me scroll around and update the location in real time as I scroll. Under the map should be a table of the sightings that are shown on the map. The table should list relevant data points that would be good to know. When I click on a pin on the map of a sighting, sighting, or I click on the row of a sighting in the table, the map should center on that pin and make the pin larger with a fun animation, and then hide the table and show all the details about that sighting under the map. There should be a back button to go back to the full list. I want you to use local storage for the database of all the data. I want you to figure out a way to get all the recent sightings from the web when the page loads and scrolls in real time. Whenever you're searching or doing background tasks, show a loading spinner. The pins on the map should be little UFO icons. I thought that'd be fun. If aliens were also sighted, then add an alien icon to the pin. Use color schemes of a modern cyberpunk theme. I'm going to get into how we're going to make that a little bit better too. And then the web app should be in React using modern UX, UI, responsive best practices for desktop and mobile. Details of the individual UFO page when clicking on one should be the date of the sighting, details of the sighting, any images if there are any, a UFO meter on likelihood of it being an alien, 0, definitely not an alien, 5, definitely an alien. links to relevant articles, how many sightings were in the area that there were, and then make a navigation system somehow that will show relevant menu items that make sense. Build out 2 or more pages that make this app fun and socially viral. So that's really the prompt. And this is the part where you really want to expand on this with all the details that you can possibly think of and what you want the app to look like. The more details you give, the better app you're going to get. Like I said, we're just kind of run through this just to show you the capabilities. But what I really want to stress is this is probably the most important part of what you're going to do here is from the onset of having a very, very good prompt, which is a great description of everything you can think of the app. So you got to think of yourself as like the project manager and the architect of the app, not the developer. And I know for a lot of developers, engineers out there, it's kind of hard to pull yourself out of that role because you're so used to just being in the trenches and just building. But right now, this is really about planning and pre-planning. So everything that you can do, the more info you can give ahead of time, better app you're going to get down the road. So plan out your whole architecture, plan out the logical architecture, physical architecture, how everything is going to build, what kind of APIs you're going to have, what kind of the background services are going to be, what you're going to use for a data store. Figure all that out ahead of time. Do the whole thing. And then from there, you're going to get a way better app. Now, we're not using any API calls in here. Like I said, I want to use local storage. I don't know how well that's going to work just because making all those web calls on the back end to get data and do searches, I have no idea. But that's what the AI is going to have to figure out. What I've done to give you guys a little bit of a tip on how to integrate APIs to make it a little simpler for me is I figure out all the different API endpoints that I'm going to need, and I'll actually work with the AI system to figure those out. So I'll say, look, hey, here's the whole app and how I want it to work. What API endpoints am I going to need? Because I want to have all the data decisions made via Lambda that are hidden behind an API gateway in AWS. Then it will go through and give me a whole table of all the Lambdas that need to be created, what their functions are. I'll give it to say what is a sample payload and response for the JSON schema that's going to be passed in. You get all that information in one shot. Therefore, you can then create a whole nother subset of all those Lambdas and have AI make all those Lambdas out for you as well. You can even have them deploy it. Tell them to make a cloud, say, hey, make a cloud script that will create these Lambdas. And it will use the AWS command line to create all the stuff, dump in the code, create them all, create the API gateway, all the core stuff. It'll do everything for you. And then what I do there is when I'm building the app out, I'll tell it, use mock endpoints while in development mode. Use a global variable that says whether I'm in development or prod. If it's development, use all mock API endpoints that will always respond successfully. And then if in prod, use the call to the API, and the API URL will be XYZ. That's just something I do in my prompting to generate the app, because what I found is if you just say, hey, I want to use all these API calls for all these backend services, when it's trying to build the app, it's making these calls, those APIs don't exist, and it fails, and it makes it a lot harder to just get the app going. So create mock endpoints to start out with, have a table of all the API endpoints you're going to need with all the descriptors so you know how to create it, have the AI create it. And then from there, you can then swap out the mock endpoints with real API endpoints as you make them. So let's go ahead and jump back into our prompt. Now, what you'll notice is this is the beginning of the prompt. Now, beneath here, I say follow these guidelines. So this here is a structured prompt that is used to create Bolt.new specific sub prompts, if you will, of all the individual pieces that need to be created. So what's happening is I'm going to tell AI, which I'm going to be using Claude, to basically be like my project manager and take my app, break it down into phases, and then from there, give me a prompt for each phase, and then we're going to build those all out. So you'll see here and I'll post this whole prompt in the descriptions or somewhere. I'll put it maybe a Google Doc or something, so then link to it so you guys have it. The key here is you'll see creating a 5 prompt structure. Now, normally I use like a 10 prompt structure. If I'm doing a much larger or more in-depth app that has a lot going on, I might bump that up to 15 or even 20. The more steps you give it, the more detail that you're going to get in your creation. This is something super simple, and we're just trying to get through this. So we're just going to do a 5 prompt structure because I'm just trying to show you how this all works. So it's going to create 5 prompts. The initial one is to create the whole vision of the app and what is it going to do and how it works. And then from there, it's fix the stuff that's not working and create the new features moving forward. And it gives it to say, hey, do this in a specific kind of pattern, right? So this is the full prompt that we're going to go. And down here, you can see this is the actual template that we want to use for the prompt. So we always get the same type of prompt every time. And this is what Bolt.new really likes. It builds real well under these circumstances. So what do? First, we're going to take this and we're going to copy it. And then we're going to go over here into Claude and we're going to paste it. Now, what I'm also going to do is I'm just going to add in a little bit more. Use the attached screenshots for takeaways on UI and yeah, color schemes. So what I like to do, I give the prompt here, I'll give it a little bit of UI stuff that I like, but it's more important to give it to Bolt. So when you're saying, hey, create the app, you also want to say, make it look like this. I also put it in here, so this way when it's creating all my individual flows, it has a little bit of that nuance, so it can say, hey, use the color scheme of this, or when it's telling it how to design stuff, it has a little bit of already preemptive prompting involved. So to do this, what I like to do, just go to somewhere like Dribble, where there's a lot of really great artists, and find out some like ideas of some cool designs that I like. So you can see like in my prompt, I said I was going for something like a futuristic cyberpunk theme. So let's just look cyberpunk. What do we get? Okay, we got some cool stuff. So, I mean, you know what? It doesn't really matter too much. So let's just go with this one here. This one's crazy. So we're going to copy this, copy image, paste this, take the whole prompt, paste. Okay, so on Claude 3.5 Sonnet, you'll see here there's choose style. We drop down here, right now it's defaulting to normal. If it's high overload, which Claude seems to be getting a lot recently, I think because of the MCP release that they put out, it will default to concise, which is very short, brief. What we want is explanatory. This is the long, drawn out stuff, because this is the most important part of getting all the details to make sure Bolt is going to build the app the way we want. So change that to explanatory. If you're more of a ChatGPT fan and you don't want to use Claude for whatever reason, I recommend using ChatGPT 01, not preview and not the professional one either, just 01 if you have access to it. If you don't have access to 01, use 4.0. Okay. And here we go. So now we're going to let Claude go ahead and do its thing. As you can see, it's doing a little bit more thinking already. So here we go. It's going to break down the UFO sighting app and tracking app into clear, manageable prompts following the bolt.new structure. Let's analyze the requirements, then create an effective 5-prompt sequence that builds the application incrementally. First, let me create a basic React component that showcases the visual direction and core structure. I'm not even going to use that. I'm just telling you right now. It does this, and it's like, I don't care. I'm not using it. All I want is this part that's generating now. Prompt 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. This is what we're going to use to build the app in Bolt. So this structure follows a clear progression from basic foundation to full functionality while maintaining visible progress at each step. Each prompt builds upon previous one while allowing fixes and improvements. You want me to elaborate? Nope, this is good enough. If you want, you can tell it to give you more in-depth prompts. If you're, if this is like an app you really want and you're diehard set about, you might want to say, I want a lot more details. I don't care right now. Also, you'll see, like I'm saying, you'll see over here in the UFO track-based component thing, whatever, it created this code. I'm not using this. And the reason I don't use the code that Claude gives is Bolt.new is really good at creating the UI for the app that it creates, and I prefer what it does over Claude. A lot of times you'll see AI comparisons between ChatGPT and Gemini and Claude, and which one does the best, which can make the best UI or can clone the thing exactly the way I want. I don't use any of those. Whatever system prompt Bolt.new's got going on works out really well, so I'm just going to use that. So I'm copying out these prompts. We're just going to throw them into just a new thing so we have them. So now, here we go. Okay, so now that we have all the prompts back from Claude, we're going to plop these in one at a time into Bolt and start actually building the application. And this is where the fun happens. So let's go ahead and copy the first prompt. We're going to go into Bolt. We're going to paste our prompt. I'm also going to add in my picture that I want for styles. Copy the look and feel of the screenshot for the UI. And now we're going to go to here and copy the same image that we used before. So copy, and we're just going to paste that too. So we give it the first prompt, and we're going to add in a little bit more of just saying, hey, also use this screenshot that I'm giving you. Actually, you know what? There were a couple. I think there was another one. Yeah, there's another one here. Same style, right? So let's just do this. Copy image. Because you can attach up to, I think, 5 different things in here. And the more you give it, generally, the better off it is. So let's just go ahead and give it a lot of this stuff here. Copy image and paste. And that's good enough. Okay, now let's kick off the first prompt and see what happens. Hold on to your butts. There we go. So now, Bolt.new is going to, I'm just going to start calling it Bolt. Bolt.new is annoying. So Bolt is going to start creating the whole web application, not just a page. It's not just going to make some code and give it to you. It's creating all the pages. It's creating all of the infrastructure. It's creating all the everything that you need to build and run this app, which looks like it's building it in React, because I think we said React, right? So this building the whole React. Now, not only is it going to just build out all the code and all the assets and all the dependencies, it's now going to build the server and launch it and run it. There it is. We now have a UFO tracker app up and running. And this is not a screenshot. Look, see, as I click on things, it's not really doing anything right now. Little hamburger menu, but you can see it's all clickable, latitude, longitude. I like the color scheme. Cool. So from our first prompt, which was create a UFO sighting tracker web application that allows users to discover and explore UFO sightings in their area. For the first step, set up a basic page structure with a responsive layout using modern UI principles, a map placeholder section. We got that. Let's check the responsiveness. Does that work? Let's see. Yep, look at that. Everything folded underneath it, right? Responsive is working. Good. Okay. Sightings list placeholder setting. Yep, got the recent sightings. Cyberpunk theme styling with neon greens and dark backgrounds. Did it. Focus on getting the basic visual structure right before adding functionality. Copy the... Okay. We did it. So the first one is now done. So now what we do is we go to our second prompt. So grab the second one. We're just going to copy this. Go back. Scroll back down to the bottom and paste. Now, the first part, for moving forward, here's how we actually use these prompts. You'll see in the first part it says fix. Ensure responsive layout works on all devices and styling matches Cyberpunk theme. And then build. Implement the map integration with current location detection, 100-mile radius visualization, custom UFO markers for sightings, basic marker click interaction. So these are the next things that it's going to be doing. So for the fixing, the responsive layout works, so I'm not really worried about that. And the theme, I'm going to go ahead and leave that one in there. So ensure, I'm just going to do this. Styling matches Cyberpunk theme. So if there's something not working right, or you wanted to rearrange stuff or whatever, this is where you put this into the fix part at the top. There's no need to try to fix. You're just going to burn tokens, and the AI can do more than one thing at a time. I don't recommend putting in 100 different things that you want to do, because you do want to segment stuff down into logical things, especially with stuff that's kind of already done. So you can, I would say, fix 2, 3, maybe 4 things at a time, as long as they're not too monumental of a task for fix. And it'll be able to fix those and build out all the next stuff. So you can save your tokens and get a lot more done in one shot. So we're going to go ahead and kick off this second prompt now. There we go. Okay, so now it's thinking. Okay, so now after the second prompt, it's going through, it's made the updates to the sightings, made a couple new updates starting the app, Okay, let's see what it does. Okay, it's asking for my location, and that is where I am, rad. Okay, so what did it do? It gives you the whole update. Map integration, add a leaflet with React leaflet, don't care. We got a map with a 100-mile radius visualization. It is using use geolocation because it's grabbing my location from the browser. Code organization, okay, it updated that. Enhanced cyberpunk styling. The map looks pretty cool. Like, that's not the default color, so it definitely changed the map style to look. Okay, cool. Can I click and zoom? Yes, I can. Okay, cool. Zoom out. Oh, that's cool. It's even got, oh, rad. Okay, rad. Nice. Okay, cool. So now we're going to move on to prompt number 3. Paste that in. So fix, verify map performance and marker placement accuracy. That looks good, so I'm not really worried about the fix. So for fixing, we're just going to get rid of that completely. And now we're just going to do the build part, which is create the sightings database and list view with local storage implementation, sighting data structure, sortable, filterable list view, loading states for data fetching. Okay, let's just see what that does. Okay, now it's doing its thinking. Now what's cool is this thing is reading the entire code repo. So this code here, so you see up at the top, you have code and you have the preview pane. So in the code, this is actually committing everything into its own kind of a GitHub repo on the back end. So the repo that's doing all these code commits to, so as you go through, you can always revert and go back very easily. You don't have to do, like, you remember before we were doing kind of those hacks where you say, hey, increase version number, go back to version number and all that kind of stuff to keep track. You don't have to do any of that in here. So if there's ever any issues or you've just gone too far sideways and it's not what you want, it's just, you just really can't fix something, you got to go back and try to troubleshoot it. You can always go back to a previous commit. Okay, here we go. So prompt 3, what did it do? Data management, local storage for persistence, custom hooks, Component structure, features, real-time search filtering, styling. Okay, so I mean, I'm not noticing any like differences here on the page. Does this do anything? No. Does this do anything? No. Okay. Well, did what it's supposed to do. Now, I just want to show you here real quick. We're not going to do it, but if you want to for troubleshooting, like I was telling you, when you can go back. So here, you can see right here, roll back to checkpoint. If you click on this, it's going to make a prompt say, hey, are you sure you want to do this? You're going to lose everything afterwards. If you hit revert now, basically it's going to have stopped at that previous commit when the app deployed, and it's going to go right back to the code base at that point. So if you ever, like I said, if you ever go too far sideways or it's just not fixing the problem, it's in some weird loop, revert to a checkpoint. General rule of thumb, let me click off number 4 here to get this thing kind of going. There we go. So prompt 4, ensure smooth data flow between map list and build. That's fine. Implement detailed settings view with extended sighting information. UFO meter rating system, related article section, area statistics, through certain distance. Okay, cool. We're going to let that go. So for troubleshooting, here's some kind of rule of thumb I use. If there ever breaks, there's 2 things that will happen. One, it will notice the error and it'll see a red box and you can click attempt to fix and it will just fix it itself. Or if it completely craps the bed, you'll see that just the error dump a react on the right-hand side. You can just copy and paste it and just say, hey, fix this. I give it maybe 2 attempts at fixing the problem, maybe 3. But if after like 2 or 3 attempts, if it can't fix it, I will revert back to the previous area to where everything was working exactly how I wanted it to. And then from there, I'll kind of tweak my prompts a little bit and then try to go through. If it really can't get through, which happens, it's rare, but it does happen where it just cannot figure it out. At that point, what I'll do is then I'll click on the code view, which we're looking at here as it's building everything out, and I will try to see where the problem is. Okay, here we go. So it did more stuff in theory. What did it do? Enhanced data structure, new components, sighting details. So now I guess when I click on something, it's supposed to do something. That's my location. Okay. Is this not supposed to? Okay, improve, click to expand sighting cards. Okay, so these are, when I click on something, they're definitely not expanding. So let's do this. Let's go to our last prompt. I'm going to put this in, and now fix. I'm not seeing any sighting cards when I click on a sighting in the list. And I don't see any pins. Well, let's see here. It says LA, actually. So is there anything out in LA? Oh, there is. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if I click on them. Okay, so that doesn't look good. Okay, here we go. So this is one problem. Second problem, I'm just going to break this down to bullets so it knows. That makes it a little bit easier. Second problem is make the text in the pin bubbles easier to read, high contrast. And a lot of times I'll do this too. Just grab a quick little screenshot and kind of show it what I'm seeing and just paste that in there. So I can't really read this text real well here, so I want this to be fixed. So we'll fix that up here. All right, so move that out. And now it's going to build social features, final touches, sighting submission system, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's go ahead and hit that button there. All right, so now it's going to make the additional functionality into the map. So like I was saying too, when you go into the code view here, if you really have to fix it, a lot of times you're like, hey, there's a problem. You can ask it, where in the code is it making this call? Or where is this happening? Or how does this work? And it will show you where it is and explain it. And then you can it might show a little like info of like, oh, it's making the wrong API call, or it's not firing something properly, whatever. And then you can say, hey, it doesn't look like this part's working, whatever. But like I said, this is only the beginning. This isn't that fine tuning part. But if you're really stuck, you can jump into the code base here. After we get through this last one here, I'm going to show you just a couple little more tips and tricks that I have with Bolt that I use to save on a bunch of token costs and make everything work a lot better and more direct of what it is that you're trying to fix. Okay, so now it's done more stuff. Let's go to the preview. It's now building out the app. Okay, so when I click on things, nothing is happening. I do have a report sighting button. Ooh, so now I have a whole form. Okay, brief title. Aliens. Where? Let's do Long Beach, New York. I saw a UFO abduct my neighbor. Duration. I saw it happen for 2 minutes. Weather conditions. That's kind of rainy right now, right? So rainy. Behavior tags. Blinking lights and oh wow. Lights. That's weird. I can't comma and I can't space. Okay. Anal probes. UFO meter 1 to 5. Oh, this was like a 4.3. Okay, we're gonna submit the report. Okay. We don't have any additional pages, and these aren't clicking on stuff. So now let's start fixing some things. Fix. Clicking on recent sightings isn't doing anything. Not seeing sightings added by report sighting form show up. What else don't I like? Let's see. Oh, this thing. Is this more readable now? Ah, they fixed that, so that's more readable. That's good. Cool. Okay. Let's see. Let's just fix. Oh, there is no menu showing when I click on the hamburger. Let's just start with that. There's a couple more things I want to add. I really want to add the part where it goes out and gets the data because it didn't do that at all, and that's kind of the tricky part, which I wouldn't even know how to solve right away. But first, I want to do these things because these are basic functionality that the app should be doing just kind of right out of the gate, right? Okay, it's going to help fix the issues. Good stuff. Now, what I wanted to tell you before was a couple tricks here. If you know where the problem is, or if you know you're working on a specific piece of the app, you can target the AI to say, only make changes in this or these files. So what'll happen is when the AI is trying to figure out stuff, it's only going to pull in those files for context and only make changes to those files. So if you're sure you know what needs to be fixed, what changes need to be made, well, in that case, you can say only look at these files, and it saves you a ton of token costs. To do that, what you do is go into code, and let's say we want to make changes to just the header. Right-click on header and hit target file. So when you target a file or files, let's target this one too. So now we have 2 of them. So now you'll see down here where all changes limited to 2 files and these little target icons are on there. So now the AI is only going to mess with just those files. So instead of pulling in all the files from the entire application to figure everything out, it's only going to look at those and only make changes to those. Way better when it comes to cost, speed, and all kinds of other stuff. If you're sure that's where the problems are, which a lot of times it is if you're familiar with some form of development. And when you don't want to target anymore, you can right click or you can just click on them, and that does that as well. Another thing that you want to pay attention to is another feature in here, which you right click, which is lock file. So if you have a piece working and it's working exactly how you want and you don't want any changes made to it, you should lock it. Because even though you're making changes to something completely different, the AI is looking at the whole system and it's making changes to the whole system. It may change stuff that's already working and break it. So if you have a piece that you know is working, you don't want to mess with, you can lock that. So therefore it doesn't make any changes to it. So that's another little thing just to pay attention to because that's also super important. Okay, so let's see here. It says it did a bunch of stuff. Let's check it out. Okay, we have this one here. Aliens. Okay, cool. But I'm not seeing anything underneath, so that's not working. And this is not working either. So when I click on that there, okay, so fix. Clicking on the pin should show, oops, details of the counter. Right now, it's only showing pop-up on the map. Next, clicking on the recent sightings should open to the details of that sighting. And right now, it's not doing anything. Also, recent sightings is not showing those in the local data store. So because you can see there's the dot here, this is the one that I added. That's stored in my local store within the browser, but it's not showing up here on the right-hand side, which it should be. So I'm gonna put that one in there as well. In case you're not familiar, Command Option I opens up this thing. Then from here, go to Application and Local Storage. Click on it, there we go. There's our local storage. And in here, which one is it? There it is. Here is kind of our local database, if you will. You can see all the information that we have. So we have this one here, the 2 from Los Angeles, and then we got this one, aliens. That's the one that I added, right? So it's adding it to the local storage, but it's not referencing it completely. Here we go. Still 3 in Los. I still don't see the one from there. Okay, that did something. All right, here we go. So now this is what happens when it breaks and it sees the problem. So it shows the error. Don't try and troubleshoot it. Just click the attempt to fix button. Let it try to figure it out. Now, like I said, I'll give it maybe 2, maybe 3 attempts at fixing it at most. If it doesn't do that, I'm going to go back and just reiterate that last prompt and kind of go from there. So let's see if Bolt can figure it out. Okay, let's just stop this. Something doesn't look right. So this last prompt didn't work out right. So we're going to go ahead and tell it to fix it again. There we go. I've noticed a lot of times that Bolt has communication issues with Claude. And a lot of times that causes it to time out or show an error. Another time, sometimes what you might see here too, just to give you a heads up, you might see like down here a little prompt saying Claude's reached a limit, try it in another hour or something. You don't have to wait an hour. You can actually just retry right away. But that does happen, and I have seen that from time to time through Bolt. Okay, so we got this thing here. Clicking on these doesn't do anything. What about this one? Oh, there we go. Ooh, I like the UFO meter. That's pretty awesome, actually. Based on witness credibility and evidence quality. Peak activity times. Interesting. Okay, so that's working. Okay, so now, fix. Show all local storage items, and you know what? I'm going to try to help it here. So in the local storage, it's UFO sightings. Local storage, UFO sightings. There we go. In the recent sightings table. And show the details of the sighting when clicking on an item in recent sightings. Just like when clicking on a pin in the map. Okay. You know what? Also, the pins on the map should have a UFO icon emoji in them. Okay, let's do that. There we go. So let's have it fix that thing. Okay, so as soon as we get this kind of working here, where I can click on these things, we're going to go to the next step, which I want to show you how to kind of fine tune this app. But I just like, that's kind of a key piece, and I feel like we're really close there. And this is what happens. This is probably the most frustrating part about this, which is it builds everything out like so fast and so well. And then all of a sudden you're at one little thing. You're like, just move it. Just move this one little thing. And it's like, it just won't do it. And you'll be stuck for like 20 minutes trying to get this thing just to do one stupid, simple thing. And that's when I've learned how to fine tune AI development. And that's when we use Windsurf. But for now, I'm trying to do this with as much Bolt as I can to get this thing going. Okay, so we now have the UFO on the pin, which is great. That works. This still is not, it just does not want to do it. Okay, we're just going to give up on that. Oh, wait, there's a problem. What's the problem? Warning. Did you mean, I don't know, possibly. You fix it. We'll see what happens if I fix this, because maybe that's what's causing our problem. And once this one's done, we're going to do the next fun stuff here. Okay, I don't like those changes. So I'm actually going to go back to this one. Roll back to here. I liked it better there. That was much better. I like the little green glowing dots a lot better than I do the aliens. We can fix that later. Let's see if we can do this. Let's do this. Fix. When rendering the map, scour the internet for recent UFO sighting and update the local storage with all the relevant details in UFO sightings. This is going to be a big one. Actually, you know what? Let's not even call this. Let's call this build. So this is the piece I really want, which is I want to find real sightings and update it based on the map. So let's see what it does now, because this would be kind of a big overhaul, right? Because right now I'm saying to do a lot of work. Like this, actually, how is it going to find the stuff and scrape the stuff? That's going to be interesting. I have no idea how it's going to do it. Right now it looks like it's just making crap up. Real sightings, and it's all placeholders. Denver, Arizona. Okay, I don't care. I want to actually make calls out to the internet and find them. What is it doing? It's removing code now. Nope. Okay. That's doing something. I created sightings data module with a curated realistic. No, I don't want realistic. It's really stuck with these LA things. Here, you know what? Let's try this. So try this. Make this list from UFO sightings in local storage. And make the web app search the internet in real time for UFO sightings in the radius of the map where it is currently. Don't use pre-filled info. Let's just see if we can do it. I'm just kind of curious. Sometimes I like to, if you give it the visuals, sometimes it actually kind of finally realizes what the hell it is you're trying to do. So we're just going to try it. If it doesn't work, I don't care. We're just going to go into Windsurf and we'll try to fix it from there. Okay, adding real-time UFO sighting service. Ooh, it's calling, what is that? Neurophic? Let's see what that is. I'm kind of curious. Where did it copy? Oh no, where'd it go? Sightings. Okay, what is this? Okay, also, why won't it copy? That's different. I have some weird Google thing. Copy, clean link. Not found. Well, I don't know how well that's going to work. Yeah, there's a bunch of problems. I'm not surprised. Okay, so let's see. What this still doesn't work, right? Yeah, it just, okay, I'm not going to have Bolt try to fix this stuff. We're done. So right now, what you're seeing are the frustrations with Bolt, which is you don't really get to say what to fix too much. You're more just like, hey, here's a problem, figure it out and fix it. So it's like just going across the entire app trying to fix stuff, and it's sometimes it does and sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it changes things it does, and you don't want it to, and that's kind of where Bolt starts to lag. So you're finding out where that fall off is, and this is where I spent days where I was like, I'm just gonna do this whole thing in Bolt because this is awesome. I just need to learn how to use it. And then that's when I just reached such a level of frustration. I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And that's when I jumped into Cursor. And then from Cursor, I kind of was like, there's some little things I didn't like. And that's how I found Windsurf. And now that's kind of my de facto workflow now is you're now seeing that point where you kind of hit a wall and it's more frustrating than anything else. And it's not really solving the problems. It's just guessing and throwing itself through a loop. And that can be annoying. So what we're going to do here is we're just going to stop. Okay, it does the thing. There's a problem, whatever. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you two things. One, the deploy button. So when we deploy, it's actually going to build this app and deploy it as a web service on the internet that anyone can now access. So this isn't in the local environment. This isn't some local VMware or something. This is now going to be publicly online for anyone to access. And here's the web URL. So if we go to it, we're going to allow access. There we go. So now what we can do is we can do additional troubleshooting if we wanted to. We're not going to right here. But if we go into, like, let's say the console, let's clear that one out and let's clear out the network. I like to show these two at the same time. And now if we refresh, let's see what kind of problems we're seeing. So here, this is where our problems are coming from. This thing just is not working. Yeah, response. It's getting no response. Yeah, so this is where our big problem is coming. So we're not even going to try and solve this. So the app is now live. You can go to it online, and it's running, and people can play with it. You can share with your friends and all that kind of fun stuff. What we can also do is download. So when we download the code, we're going to save this into a test folder. Save. And now we're just going to hide this down, hide that down. Let's open up test stuff. We're going to open up our app, and now we have a project folder. And now we're going to open our project in Windsurf. So now you'll see we have an IDE, just give you an idea. Ta-da, there we go. We have an IDE with AI built in. And one thing which seems very trivial and small is that on the right is all the files, and on the left is this is where we chat with AI, and in the middle is our code. I have it set up this way. By default, it does it the other way around. But I have found now, I don't really care about the file structure too much anymore. Like before, you're always going through and clicking and making all the changes. I don't really care about that too much now. This middle pane where all the code is, I'm not really doing anything in here either. I'm really using this as a reference to be able to just read the code, to be able to talk to the AI, to do everything. So first thing I want to do is I want to tell this thing to build it, to give me a shell script to allow me to run this app locally for troubleshooting. So create me a shell script that I can run to launch this app locally on my machine. So we're just going to start out with that. And this is how we will do all of our work moving forward. And now this is why I like Windsurf. It really is kind of teaching me what it's doing. It's showing all the different steps that it's going through. It's finding all the different stuff it needs to do. So like first thing here, so it created this start.sh file so you can open the diff. If there was a full file, it would show all the diff of all the lines it's going to do. It's a new one, which is fine. So I'm going to accept those changes. And now it wants to run a terminal command. It's actually going to launch this thing. So go ahead, launch it. I give you permission. There we go. It kicks it off. So now, now it's given that. Okay, it didn't launch it. Sorry, I just gave it the permission to launch it. So if I want to insert in terminal, ta-da, doink, installing dependencies and launching our box. There we go. Okay, so now it's running. So come and click. And there we go. There's our app. So now our app is running localhost on the box. We're just going to do a couple quick things here. Update the start script to open the browser when launched. I'm just going to do that one. That's an easy one. We're going to leave this open though. And now we're going to see if we can fix this stuff using Windsurf for the problems that we really want to do. So again, here's the diff. So now we can see the lines it's removing and adding. Like you can see I did here, I can add, accept and reject one at a time. Down here, I can accept, reject in just this file. And over here, I can accept, reject everything. Because a lot of times it'll make changes to a whole bunch of files all at once. So you can just accept them all here and we're done. Okay, so now let's start troubleshooting, right? So over here, let's see if we can fix, if Windsurf is able to fix this reason sightings. Okay, on the right side is, actually, let's not even do that. Update the recent sightings table so that whenever any item is clicked, it will show the details of that item the same way as when we click on a pin on the map. We're gonna do that one. And I like bullets. For some reason, I find it just works better. Also, what else do I want to do? Fill in the recent sightings from the UFO sightings local storage from the browser. Okay, we're gonna give it 2 tasks. These are the 2 things we were trying to fix before. So now we're gonna see. So now down here, I'm gonna show you a couple other quick things that we can do for fun while this is going through and fixing stuff. But you can see it's learning the app. It's actually reading through the app, following everything to see what it's doing to figure out how to fix everything. This is awesome. I love watching to see how it's doing stuff, and it's talking to me, telling me how it's figuring things out, which is great because you can see if it goes sideways, and you can kind of correct it a little bit. Now down here, one big thing is we can change the LLM we're using. Right now I'm using Claude 3.5 Sonnet because that's my favorite, but we can switch over to GPT-4. Sometimes if you get in like kind of that loop where AI just can't figure it out, it's just doing the same thing over and over and over again, swap LLMs, go to ChatGPT. Sometimes that will just get you enough bump out of that loop, and then you can go back to Claude and kind of keep going from that point. So that's a great advantage here that Bolt you can't do in Bolt as well. Okay, here we go. So what do? It analyzed a whole bunch of stuff, and if you're not seeing this behavior, let me know. I'm not seeing this behavior. I'm not seeing this behavior. Here's what I see. Now, again, it loves screenshots just like Bolt does. So we're going to copy this, and we're going to go back, and we're just going to paste that screenshot. And then also, because we want the UFO sightings data, right? So I'll go into application. There we go. And I'm going to give it this as well. I'm going to do this, and oops, not that. This one. And then just the last thing I want to give it is, I'm just going to, this one. There we go. Copy value. Here's what I see. Screenshots. Here's the value in local storage. There. So now it has the visuals of what I'm seeing. It has the actual data that's stored in the local storage. And now it's going to try to figure out what's going on. While it's trying to figure out what's going on, I'll show you a couple more fun things. So one other cool thing here. Now I was talking about how I like to use this for fine-tuning solutions. Well, one, you're seeing how I like to do it. So it's analyzing, you see, it's figuring out how it does it. I still can't get over this. I love that it's going through and it's explaining to me why. Because one of the things, my biggest complaints about AI this whole time is like, you just become dumb from using it because you don't have to think anymore. You just kind of turn off and like, oh, let the button, like in Bolt, you just hit attempt fix. I don't know, fix it. I don't know what you're doing. Do that. I don't know, fix it. We're here, it's explaining it. So I can read this stuff as it's going through, and I'm learning how to build React apps just from watching it do what it's doing. It's really awesome. It's almost like your built-in tutor and fixing it for you by explaining it along the way, which to me is important because I love knowing all this stuff. Okay, so it's made some changes. We're going to go ahead and accept all the changes. There we go. And then let's refresh our app. You know what? I'm just going to kill the app and start it from scratch. There we go. Okay, what do we got? Nope, I still am not. Okay, so I think that went in a backwards way. So what I'm going to do is copy this whole prompt that we gave it before. And just like we can do in Bolt, I'm going to go up to here. It's always a pain to find. How does this work here? Revert. Yes. And there we go. Now let's check my app now. Okay. And now we're just going to have it try again. Now, one other fun thing I want to show you, this will be the last little tip here, and then we're just going to kind of wrap it up, is when you're trying to do more specific stuff, like let's say you're coming into here and you're editing the app TSX file. So there's this problem. You can actually highlight the line or a bunch of lines, whatever, it doesn't really matter. And if you hit Command L, it will reference that line in that file down here. So when you give it a command, it will know that this is the thing you're trying to do. So you can say, fix this line, or add this, or put this here, or whatever. You can reference very specific spots in the app to only do things with where you want it to go. And so this is where it's really cool. Now, I'm very rarely do I actually make changes in here. I most of the time try to keep it just in here. Sometimes I will, just little tweaks, but most of the time I dump it all into here. It's just way easier. One last thing I forgot to show you too, just on the Bolt side of things, is when you are in code view and you are in here, you can make changes. You can edit this. You just have to make sure that you save it. Once you save it, you're good to go, and then you can deploy and your app is up to date. So you can make code changes directly in Bolt as well. I just want to make that kind of apparent. Okay, accept all. I've accepted all the changes, and let's just take a look at what's happening. Right now it's dead. Let's kill this and just restart it. Okay. Oh, hey. Oh, these are, where is this stuff? This is real? Okay, I don't have a back button. But hey, check that out. I'm actually getting stuff. But this still isn't coming from my stuff, but now it's doing what it's supposed to do. Oh, there we go. Yeah. Okay, let's add one. So I'm going to put some gibberish. Long Beach, New York. Description, 5 minutes. Rain. Anal probes. UFO meter. Submit. Yeah, I'm still not seeing that stuff in there. Oh, refresh. There it is. Oh, and there's the pin. And it clicks on it. It's working. The app works. Rad. So this is why I like Windsurf, because it's just way better at fine-tuning, troubleshooting, and fixing problems. As you can tell, Windsurf is way more awesome. It lets you really fine-tune what's going on. And now we have a full UFO tracker app, and I have written absolutely no code whatsoever. I hope this really shows you the power of what AI is capable of building when it comes to building custom apps right now. Windsurf is amazing. I really highly recommend just playing around with it. Just get used to it, because this is a great launch pad to build amazing applications using these apps. So check it out. Love to know your thoughts and comments. And if you have any tips and tricks to make life easier, I'd love to hear it, because like I said, I'm just getting into this. I just started playing with this maybe 3 weeks ago, and it's just been nonstop, because every time I have an app idea, I'm like, oh, I have an idea, and I can make it within hours. I have a functional prototype. So this is amazing work. I really love this kind of stuff. Also, like I said, Cursor works just like Windsurf. It's just a little bit different, so you should play with both to see which one you like. But yeah, AI is blowing out manual development. I don't think I will ever be developing an app from scratch ever again, and that is crazy to say. So I'll see you guys around later. Nidus has just created the first iOS app made exclusively for identity management professionals. It's called Nidus Breachcast, and you can download it now. It's amazing. We have real-time updates of all the latest breaches that are occurring, CVEs as they come out real-time, really pertaining just to identity management. We have media that's going on this podcast. We're going to be bringing in a lot more others as well. And we even have a complete vendor list of all the identity management vendors and all their products, so you can find out exactly where to download their software, all the documentation. And what's even more awesome is an identity management glossary. All those crazy words and acronyms that we can never remember, they're all listed in there for you. No ads, just pure information to make your life simple.